This episode is brought to you by Ursa Minor Outfitters. Folks, I'm absolutely in love with my loon mug. It's handmade, it's an absolute piece of art. Whether it's at the office or at the house, people keep asking to check it out. If you're not a loon fan, they also have other beautiful mugs for wildlife fans of moose, bears, and eagles. They specialize in products highlighting the outdoors and local pride through quality design by local artists. They've even started expanding into items beyond mugs, like apparel, dog accessories, and soon candles and more. They also try to partner and highlight other small businesses, and in some cases, forego profits in lieu of charitable giving to help their community, such as the dog rescue. So check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for our four-legged hiking partners, they also have a portable silicone dog bowl and also a sweet over-the-collar dog bandana. Go check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and don't forget to enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Welcome everyone to the latest episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm your host Ivan, and I'm excited to share this new episode with you. Each week I'll be hitting the trails asking guest questions about hiking while hiking. I'll be packing my portable recording studio up and setting up near the summit of a mountain or next to one of the many waterfalls I'm chasing. I've recently returned to the Pacific Northwest after nearly 10 years away, and I'm reacquainting myself with some of my old favorite hikes and discovering some new ones along the way. Like many of you, hiking holds a special place in my heart. For the podcast, I only engage with those that engage with me first. I also don't set up the recording equipment on the trail itself or at one of the main viewpoints. For those that are curious as to why there's a table, chairs, and a microphone set up near the trail, I tell them about the podcast, and if they seem interested, then I ask them if they'd like to be a guest. Guests are asked 10 open-ended questions about hiking, and we finish it off with a speed round of this or that questions, also related to hiking. Today's episode is on the Goat Peak Trail, right off Highway 410 in Washington State. The trail is about 6 to 6.5 miles round trip with about 3,200 feet of elevation gain. It's a steady incline all the way to the top, averaging about 1,000 feet of elevation gain per mile. At the summit, you are rewarded with a 360 view of the William O. Douglas Wilderness and beyond. On a clear day, you can see the Goat Rocks, Fife's Peak, the Stuart Range, and an impressive view of Mount Rainier. Full disclosure, I forgot a crucial piece of the recording equipment on this hike, the SD card. Luckily, we were able to use our phone's recording apps to record this episode, which might be a great alternative to minimize the weight I'm packing on difficult trails. I had a great conversation with my guests, recording for nearly 45 minutes at our amazing viewpoint. Check out our Instagram, Hikes and Mikes, to see where we set up to record. To keep with the short form format, we'll be splitting our conversation with our guest into 2 parts, with part 2 being released next week. Without further ado, let's jump into this week's episode with our guest, John. Welcome to another episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast coming from Goats Peak Trail off Highway 410. I'm here with John, also known as J Biz. I know you have quite a variety of nicknames, but do you have a nickname that you've gotten through your mountaineering or a favorite nickname that people call you?
Really, I don't have any nicknames for mountaineering. I don't know. The one that keeps everybody wondering and curious is OJ, the juice. So I guess OJ is one of the weirder ones that I kind of come accustomed to, that I thought was pretty funny.
Now, how long would you say you've been hiking?
I've done it off and on through my teenage years through Scouts. I owe a lot of my knowledge that I've gained for the outdoors and survival to Scouts, even though it's some of the most random basic stuff. But, that's the kind of stuff that keeps you alive. I got into it at a young age. As I started going through my teenage years, it kind of just dwindled off. But recently I kind of revisited it because I got tired of the city. I got tired of hanging out at home all the time, and everything just kind of seemed to be the same old song and dance, just different packaging. And so I had a couple of health scares in my life recently to where I want to see things. I want to be able to experience life. I want to see things that only people write about and take pictures of. And I want to be able to, on my deathbed, when I go, tell my kids, I saw the world. I was here when this happened. I saw this happen. I kind of want to be there in the midst of life happening. And that's kind of been my driving force since I've revisited this. And it kind of almost accidentally just popped into mountaineering.
That's beautiful. So have you been able to revisit hikes that you did in your previous years as a Boy Scout and seeing the differences as an adult?
I have, and it's quite crazy because when you're younger and smaller and you see the world from a different scope of reality, and then you become wiser and, aged a bit more, it seems different. And not in a sense that, the terrain has changed, the topography has changed and all that, but it's like you remember things being a lot bigger or a lot more extreme, we could say, But when you revisit it, it's like, oh man, that's kind of like, that's nothing. It's like, wow, we over-exaggerated this way too much.
The potential's boundless now as an adult.
Oh yeah, you can go above and beyond now. It's like, man, this is nothing. Let's keep going with this.
A lot of people in hiking have their own I made it ritual, which could be, once they reach the waterfall or the summit of the peak that they're climbing, they pack their favorite snack, their favorite beverage, or they do something, on every hike, whether it's a pose for a picture. What would you say is your I made it ritual when you reach your destination?
It's none of that stuff. I don't really take pictures of I made it. A lot of times I'll get to the point and I just sit there for a while quiet, and I'll touch and feel the ground, take a deep breath, and I'll look around and close my eyes for about 15-20 minutes and just listen, and that's it. That's pretty much it. I know it sounds like very hippie-like and spiritualistic, but I'm kind of a guy that marches to the beat of his own drum. I like to unwind and disconnect once I get to the top.
What would you say is currently your favorite hike or your favorite region to explore, whether it's in-state or out-of-state?
I tell you what, there's I want to say there's 3 places. One I've been to a ton that I just love the heck out of, and that's Rainier Park, because you could be there for a long time and you still wouldn't scratch the surface of a lot of the back country areas of that place. It's so vast and massive. You could get lost there for days. Like literally, there's tons of people that go missing there. But I'd say another favorite of mine would have to be, I would say, St. Helens. There's trails up around St. Helens, and that's pretty fun. The 2 I really want to go to that I haven't been to yet, I would love to hit Hood. That one's in Oregon. I would love to, at some point this year and next year, my goal is hitting Olympus over here on the peninsula of Washington. One of the 2 of my lifelong goals to hit would be Mount Washington, which is notorious for the highest winds recorded, up to 120 miles per hour. And I think before I die and pass away, I want to make it up Matterhorn. You got all these people, they talk about going up K2 or Everest and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, that's so overplayed. Everybody does it. So I'm all about breaking from the norm of what everyone's doing and try something offbeat that no one does anymore. Because I would like to try and rekindle some of the magic of some of these places that people miss. They don't catch it because other places are so overpopularized. Which, don't get me wrong, those other places are great and all, but I think what you call overplayed. It's been done so many times. It's like it's static in the background.
And some of the lines start getting like Disneyland. I like it.
Yeah.
There's that one picture from a few years ago where it's the line to the summit, and it literally looks like a Disneyland ride line where it's 50, maybe even like 75 people all waiting for their chance at the summit.
Exactly. I mean, you want to bring back some excitement, and I think that's one thing about this whole COVID thing that happened is when people were in lockdown. I worked at a department store during that time, and people were buying up active equipment, like exercise equipment, active equipment to get outside around their house. And I was like, wow, this is really going somewhere. And I looked at a friend, I said, watch, the next thing to buy up and be out of stock is all those passes, those nature passes. They're going to go like wildfire. And we were right. Within a few weeks, that stuff was selling like hotcakes. And it was ridiculous. It's like it took a pandemic for the whole, at least from what I could see in Washington, I don't know about other states, a reemergence of traveling, road trips, and going to the great outdoors because people wanted the distance, but at the same time have fun. And so I was like, wow. And that's part of the reason I got back into this, is that kind of pushed me in that direction too. I worked in healthcare, and I also worked in that department store, and I had some free time because they downgraded our time at that department store. And so they were kind of reshuffling us around, but it opened up a lot of free time for me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to revisit these things that I wanted to do. I'm going to check them out. That's another part of the reason why I got into this too. But the whole mountaineering thing, that my friend, that was a total accident. I wasn't planning on falling into it. I accidentally stumbled upon doing it. I know everyone's like, well, how do you, right? Yeah. It's just by sheer accident. I fell in love with it. We both did, me and my friend. And we said, man, we got to get back up on that mountain. I said, man, I want to get to the top of that. And he goes, yeah. And that's the thing with mountaineering, and especially with hiking too, is when I was a kid, I was so engrossed in what was directly next to me and what was in front of me. But I wasn't seeing the big picture of what was around me. You know what I mean? I was in this like personal bubble in almost a conceited kind of way, and I don't mean it like in a way of like being that way towards other people, but just being selfish with seeing things. And now that I'm older, I don't see things in a concentrated format of like what's here in front of me, in front of this table. I'm now seeing everything on a mass spectrum around me, and I fell in love with it. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm going up that mountain, I'm like, man, I was like, I see photos of this on the internet, and those photos are crap. I was like, seeing this stuff in person is way better. Way better. I mean, you could put it on an HD big screen TV if you wanted to. I mean, but it still doesn't capture the beauty of it and the wow factor. Because, I mean, you're standing there with, it could be a 8,000 foot drop, and you're hanging on one end, leaning up against the rock wall, and you got probably about 12 inches to maybe 24 inches of trail that you're walking on, and a sheer drop off on the other side. And you just lean back. You're just in awe of the whole beauty of it. I think that's what's kind of recaptured it and brought me to it.
That was part 1 of our talk with John on the Goat Peak Trail. Part 2 will be released next week. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. We'll be putting out new episodes every week throughout the summer and fall. Please be sure to like and subscribe to not miss out on those. If you'd like to see pictures and videos from each of our hikes, please be sure to follow us on Instagram, Hikes and Mikes, all one word. Catch you on the next one. This episode's music was created by Ketsa. Follow him on Instagram at Ketsa Music. This episode is brought to you by Flip Socks. Whether you're on the trail, on the job, or in the yard, Flip Socks will keep Mother Nature out of your boots with their innovative nylon sleeve. You no longer need to worry about any annoying debris getting trapped in your boots during your hikes. Simply flip down the nylon sleeve over any boot to prevent Mother Nature from finding its way inside, keeping your feet comfortable all day long. To get your first pair, visit flipsocks.com and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for listeners who use the promo code at checkout, I'll be donating 100% of the Season 2 promo code proceeds to Big City Mountaineers, who provide transformative experiences through connections to nature that strengthen life skills and build community for youth and disinvested communities across the nation. So if you're tired of bits and pieces of the trail finding its way into your hiking boots, pick up a pair of Flip Socks today with the promo code HikesMikes10 to get 10% off. For website and promo code, see the episode description.